Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, please email me, tmasso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmasso@thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today, we're discussing a watch that was launched in 2021 in 140 pieces in platinum, a rare Grand Seiko in platinum. This is the Grand Seiko High-Beat SLGH007, a 140th anniversary celebration of the company, founded by Kentaro Hattori, Seiko, and this is Grand Seiko, its premier mainstream luxury brand. Taking a quick look at the watch, 40 millimeters in diameter. It is 12.4 millimeters thick and a nice short over-the-wrist span of 46.7 millimeters from lug to lug. It has a broad and modern 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs, giving it a large stance. So the watch looks very modern on the wrist. You can see it's short. From lug to lug, it's not very broad across the wrist. And as the strap softens up, it'll compress the wrist less, which is even going to improve the fit further. So I could recommend this watch for wrists as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. And you can see, while it's not a terribly thin watch, it is thin enough at under 12.5 millimeters with a sloped case length that it'll fit underneath the dress cuff. It is a dress watch, albeit one with 100-meter water resistance. The strap is massive and substantial, very expensive. You can see it's large symmetrical scale alligator leather. It's got a sheer cut profile, a monotone stitch, calfskin on the bottom. You can see it's a brand new Grand Seiko factory strap. The buckle itself is fascinating because if you look at the buckle internally, you could see that it is also a product of Grand Seiko, and it's crafted from PT950, and I want to emphasize that. If you look carefully, you can see the hallmarks. So a lot of brands will give you a white gold buckle on a platinum watch. Here, you're getting a platinum buckle on a platinum watch. This is the way it's supposed to be done, and it has a twin trigger release, so when you press the triggers, it opens. When you don't, it does not. So it's very secure on the wrist. You can also see a lovely blasted and polished Grand Seiko logo right there. So a wonderfully massive clasp. It's actually as heavy as some ultra-thin watches I've experienced. And it is heavier than you would expect because you don't expect a platinum Grand Seiko. It's finished beautifully. You can see with faceted lug ends featuring a combination of creases and curves, polish and satin. This is the famed Grand Seiko Zaratsu or Zaratsu machine polishing, executed by holding the surface to be polished against a spinning tin plate. It takes about 3 years to master this art, so this watch is both internally and externally hand-finished, something you rarely find in mainstream luxury watches from the Swiss. Even, for example, a Jaeger-LeCoultre watch priced comparably to this would likely have less internal and external hand finishing. We have a Grand Seiko branded crown, and though the watch is 100 meters water resistant, it's a push-down crown, so no need for a screw-down. The dial has some of the finest dial furniture you will encounter. I've often said that Rolex and Grand Seiko jointly have the best dial quality in the mainstream luxury class, but this goes a little bit above. We have white gold dial furniture, so logo, date frame, indices, and hands, something that's not universally used on Grand Seiko watches. So these are all white gold, and you can see they feature the immaculate micro-fastening, satin, and polish alternation that you get on conventional Grand Seiko watches that have steel dial components. These all being rendered in white gold, the level of detail finishing is even more impressive. Now the dial base is a sort of, I would call it exceptionally dark anthracite, not quite black. It has color gradients from black to gray, and it has what Grand Seiko describes as a wood grain finish. The idea is that the different layers of the wood grain established over years of slow growth symbolizes the years of slow, deliberate evolution of Grand Seiko design and engineering. So although the pattern is fun, it is also purposeful. Now taking a quick look, you can see that that second sand is awfully smooth, but this is not spring drive. This is 10 beats per second, 36,000 vibrations per hour, 5 hertz. It has a double step cadence against the ear, and like a Zenithal Primero, it is potentially more accurate as it better deals with oscillations of the wrist and avoiding timing changes as a result. You can see that it also has an 80-hour power reserve because this is a new version of the High-Beat. This is a version of the 9S-A5, which is a twin-barrel automatic with an all-new architecture. So the previous High-Beat was 55 hours. This is now 80. And it's almost like a dark on dark type dial. In fact, I would say it's almost like a Darth on Darth type dial. Some watches have gained the nickname Darth Vader because of the combination of a black dial with a black date disc, and this definitely has that. Now, it also has stop seconds or hacking, as well as a quick set function, so you can rapidly cycle the date if you need to. Turning it all over, you can see that new movement. It's bigger than the older 9S families as it better fills this display case back, and you can see it does have an 80-hour power reserve. That largely to more mainspring. You can see now 2 mainspring barrels rather than 1. It's a high beat rate. That's not new, but what is new is the presence of a full balance bridge anchored on both sides with a free sprung balance for more precise adjustment and greater shock tolerance. And this is adjusted in 6 positions on the test stand, not 5 like a chronometer, so it's even more accurate in real-world use, but also in the lab, where it runs no worse than -3 + 5 seconds per 24 hours. Remember, chronometer is -4 + 6. It also has an overcoil hairspring, hitherto super rare on Grand Seiko watches. All of that, it has a new dual impulse escapement that's very similar to the Omega coaxial in that it is a sliding contact, or I should say tangential sliding contact, direct and indirect impulse escapement of Grand Seiko's own design, improving chronometry, power reserve, and reducing maintenance needs. The new movement is bigger and better fills up the case back, and it's thinner, 15% thinner than the movement that precedes it. You can also see that the architecture of the bridges has been more carefully considered along with the finishing. We have this lovely progression from the twin barrels underneath their bridge to a mid-bridge that handles the automatic system, and then we have a separate balance bridge for the balance structure. We have beautiful blued screws, we have stripes, we have engine turning on the base plate, and a machined but very handsome bevel on the edge of the bridge as well as in all of the jewel and screw sinks. It's quite attractive. And again, unexpectedly, this is water resistant down to 100 meters, and everything, including the strap, made in Japan. Reach out to Team Also at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.